Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris, here to talk about Alabama's win in its first NCAA tournament game over Texas A&M-Corpus Christi. Blake, kind of what we expected. Alabama wins this one 96-75, never really seriously challenged in the second half. Texas A&M-Corpus Christi made a small run, maybe midway through, a little upstairs to put some laundry up, come back, and Alabama gets two quick buckets out of a timeout to answer it and really win this one going away, emptied the bench in this one. And I guess the big story in this one, really not what Alabama did, but maybe as much in some ways as what Brandon Miller didn't do. I don't want to detract from Alabama's win, but Brandon Miller has got an injury that I think is going to have to be something that causes us some curiosity going forward in this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I always say, we have no idea. We're not doctors. We can't prognosticate on injuries and availability and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, he didn't score, and NATO said after the game he had a groin injury. I guess was in the SEC championship against Texas A&M, and so yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I guess what to really make of them. Maybe not seeing this game is necessarily one that he needed to play 40 minutes in. So yeah, we'll see how that kind of unfolds heading into Saturday's game against Maryland. But yeah, I mean, this was, I mean, we saw in the first half, Alabama put up 54 points, and I mean, the Islanders weren't going away. I mean, they never really backed down, but it's Alabama, and they're a team that just can, they can overwhelm you in a lot of different ways, and they hit 15 threes and got a lot of offensive rebounds as you would expect, and there were times where it just looked like Alabama was just trying to get through the game, and sometimes that happens in these kind of games. And but yeah, I mean, what else are you going to say about a 21-point win to start the NCAA tournament, put up 96 points, and yeah, the Miller injury situation is obviously something that will need to be monitored, but I don't want to go too far in that direction just yet, since basically just I think I'm pulling it up now. Yeah, so Oates just said in the press conference literally seconds ago um, that they were going to try to keep him under 20 minutes in the game. So they're hoping he'll be more like himself and ready to play on Saturday. So take that for what it's worth. Like, I don't, again, I'm not a doctor. Sounds like they're taking it one game at a time at this point. So,
well, good news if you're Alabama, and we've seen this before. 5 guys get double figure scoring. Alabama's 15 of 34 on threes, I think it was. Nick Pringle has one of his better games, goes for 19 and 15. Now, look, you can maybe put up those numbers against Texas A&M-Corpus Christi and maybe not do it against Maryland, but if you're Nick Pringle. But point being, Alabama found a lot of answers when Brandon Miller wasn't going to be the answer today.
yeah, and I mean, that's why Alabama's as good as they are. They got a lot of options. That's why they're a popular pick to win the whole thing. So that's why. I mean, it's just because they do. They have a lot of different options they can choose from, and one game, it may be this guy hitting a shot, and kind of them going off from there, and another game may be this guy, and that's just kind of how it worked out. Again, that's why they're as good as they are, because they've got so many different guys that can contribute in a variety of ways, not just scoring, but other things, right? Pringle, 19 points and 15 rebounds. Well, I mean, that's kind of like your typical Noah Clowney type stat line. But Clowney had 10 points, 4 rebounds. Didn't really have to do a whole lot outside of that. And so, yeah, I mean, this is. I think the first round games are always interesting because some people just completely dismiss them. Means nothing. I think these kind of games absolutely mean something, because if you see a team that comes out and just takes care of business, doesn't let a team just kind of hang around, that I think is what you want to see more than anything. And you do want to give other guys opportunities, especially in a blowout type scenario that this game was at times. So yeah, I think I didn't really see anything from Alabama that would change my opinion, other than the fact that, like we said, Brandon Miller is dealing with an injury, and I think it'll be harder to beat Maryland if he scores 0 points than it would be just in this game, because they had so many other guys that stepped up. So,
Yeah, and I don't want to go too deep in the weeds here, but apparently there were 5 officers behind Alabama's bench today because Brandon Miller's been getting threats. Um,
Well, I mean, yeah, that was common knowledge. I think
yeah,
that's yeah.
right. But this team's been playing under a lot of pressure. We saw it at the SEC tournament last week. We were there for the press conference after, what was it, the Friday game when Nate Oates just got grilled, Brandon Miller got grilled, and this is the team that just and look, I'm not going to go into the weeds of what happened back in January, but from a basketball standpoint, this has been a team that's been playing under a lot of pressure for a while now. Again, we saw it up close last week, and it just seems sort of like water off a duck's back with this bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're, they hear everything, and obviously, as we've said, it's a significant situation, and I mean, this is a team that I think is just continuing to do what they've done all season, and on the court, and that's why again they've kind of made it to this point as the top overall seed in the tournament, and now get ready for a Maryland team that, quite frankly, had not been very good this season away from home. And found a way to rally against West Virginia. Looked like early West Virginia was going to completely, roll in that game, but it didn't happen. Maryland battled back, won that one. So maybe that builds a little confidence in them. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Alabama's lacked confidence at all, and I don't think they've really lacked a whole lot of just on the court. I mean, they have. We saw what they did in the SEC tournament. Like they handled their business in the 3 games that they played, and now they come out and do so again. And yeah, I mean they obviously go into Saturday's game as the favorite, and it's just a matter of again of kind of seeing what the situation is with Miller injury wise, because it doesn't. I mean, it looks like Oates has made it clear it's not anything significant. Like it's just that they came in with a plan, and that they executed their plan in terms of not having him out there as much. So
Yeah, looking forward, Alabama's path could be a lot worse. I think I'd rather face Maryland than West Virginia. Virginia out of the way now in an elite path, or excuse me, an Elite Eight path potentially for Alabama, with Furman
that's a good
pulling the
thing or a
upset
bad
there.
thing.
Well,
Virginia out of the way, I think they would have welcomed that matchup. So
yeah, well, I mean, San Diego State, I wasn't blown away with today either. So
yeah, but I think they're a tougher matchup than Virginia would have been. I don't
maybe,
replace the numbers however you want, but like I think San Diego State's a tougher matchup than Virginia for a team like Alabama. But no, I mean I think that's why a lot of people picked Alabama to the Final Four to start with, because when you just looked at the path, it felt like their path set up better than some of the other teams. Top 1, 2 seeds in other regions. It just you felt like it was going to open up pretty well for Alabama, and like I said, you can't discount what Maryland can do. I mean, they play in a tough conference, and they've had bright spots this season. Not to say that they haven't, but and we'll break down the game more when we do our preview video tomorrow. But that's a team that, again, if you look at a lot of their losses, they all have come away from home, like for the most part, right? I think they only lost 1 game at home this season. So they were kind of a different team. And, but they built a little momentum just out of that West Virginia win. And so now, yeah, if you're looking ahead, I think, you're certainly not going to overlook Maryland, a team that's now won a game in the NCAA tournament, has a lot of experience. They've got some size. So, yeah. And then if you start to look further ahead, which I know Alabama doesn't want to do just yet, they want to take it 1 game at a time, but if you do start to look further down the line, I think it's always set up pretty nicely, and that's why I think the expectations are so high for this team, because it does seem like they have a very nice setup to make a run. So,
any parting thoughts on Alabama before we go to watch some more games?
no, we'll have the Alabama versus Maryland preview up tomorrow at some point, so we will dive more into the Terrapins in that game, and we're having, as you see, we were reacting to every SEC game in the NCAA tournament. As of right now, Missouri gets the win, Alabama gets the win. We'll see how everyone else fares the rest of the way, obviously, how many more teams play today? Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, A&M, all still to be determined today on Thursday. Kentucky will play on Friday. So we'll have it all covered. So hit that subscribe button.
He's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon with more SEC basketball videos.